Doing good on this side. Nice to be here.
I'll also join from my own account from the computer to reshare this further. I'm Yusuf behind the MetaGameHub account.
Nice to meet you, man. It's Kyle from Wolves of Rome on this side. Yeah, space is filling up, I think.
Nice. Have we met before, in real life?
I don't think so. I think it's just chats on the Telegram group.
Okay, yeah, I see some people in the chat. I've been in a panel with them in Berlin, actually, about refi. Was quite a success. So very happy to jump back with some of the same crew and meeting some new people.
Yeah, you've met a lot of the folks from Europe, all the way down in South Africa. So I take my opportunity to travel up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
horizontally and vertically.
Exactly. But at some point, we'll probably share a panel, I'm sure.
Hello.
Account, but Twitter wouldn't let me join. So I'll just join via the Menthal Protocol account. Do you hear me well, friends?
Connected for a second. He will join in a second. We can start.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure everyone can hear each other. I can hear you.
Yes, yeah.
Amazing. Looking forward to this Twitter space, friends. Very excited. Calling here from Eat Dubai. So maybe. I think it would be an amazing start introducing our guests over here. So we're very delighted to have MetaGameHub over here. We are very delighted to have Wolves of Rome over here. So we at Menthal Protocol, we are interested in bringing climate action into diverse fields. So we couldn't be more excited of having our lovely partners from MetaGameHub over here, as well as from Wolves of Rome. I would suggest that we start with a small intro from our side. We would love our community to get to know you. So, Kyle, I know that you're calling from South Africa. Maybe you could give us a small start, tell us about what brought you into Web3, and give us a small intro on Wolves of Rome. That would be amazing.
Sure, yeah. So my background is in marketing. I run a marketing agency on the side, and I actually met the guys at Wolves of Rome about 15 months ago. Because I joined as someone who was going to get involved in the marketing of the game. That's kind of my background, working with AAA games on user acquisition campaigns. And I've been a big card game fan since I was a kid. I grew up playing Magic the Gathering. And so when I encountered this team, and they were very, very passionate about what they were building, and, my reservations at that time, I wasn't in the Web3 space, so I was obviously very cautious, as we are when we first step in. But the passion was infectious. And I realized very quickly that this was going to be a project that I was not just going to be a client. I was going to be getting my getting hands-on with it, and getting involved. And so, within 2 or 3 months, I was already part of the team. And then it became my life. I just love it too much. So that's kind of how my journey into Web3 was actually through gaming, through this game 15 months ago, and obviously spent every waking minute in the space since then, working with other projects, meeting awesome people, and taking part in panels and Twitter spaces like this, which has been incredible for learning and for meeting people. And then to Wolves of Rome, so Wolves of Rome is a trading card game using blockchain and NFT technology to bring true ownership to players, and to build a sustainable economic model for gaming that is both fairer than what they've experienced in the Web2 space, and yet still efficient and a great game, a great gaming experience. So that's what we're doing, and we've been building for ages. We actually put out an alpha before we minted anything. It's been kind of like our modus operandi is to show first and not promise first. So we've been kind of making sure that we're delivering, and we've got a cool testing group of users who play our game. And the game is very similar to strategic fantasy card games that you may have seen. So Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, Gwent, Legends of Runeterra. These are all kind of in that category. And we're obviously building on Web3 and wanted to deliver a great card game where folks could actually own their cards, trade their cards as they should be able to in card games. And that's like a high-level, short introduction on Wolves of Rome. great story, great passion for the project, and also just really fun gameplay.
Amazing, Kyle. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Like, I had the pleasure of meeting you also, like, I think over a year back now. And I was like super excited being in the space now for like 5 years, to have like, especially like looking at gaming as one of the biggest adoption drivers for Web3. Having like traditional gaming experts there. Like, I know that you've been working on amazing projects and in the traditional gaming world, with amazing superstars there. So to see that power come into Web3 was very like encouraging for me personally. And one thing which I really am excited about is like your Wolves of Rome game, and also the Metaverse event which we've got planned up. So as a friendly hint to all of you, on the 21st of April, we will have an amazing Metaverse event where we'll also display Wolves of Rome and the beautiful artwork. I think you've been nominated by Cardano. I remember also a nomination as like one of the most stunning NFT projects. So super happy to have you over here and also here in the space. With this, having said this, I would just like to give stage to our dear friends from MetaGameHub. So this is a very important angle, right? The Metaverse. We've got different communities in Web3 which have the possibility to create a culture, to create an opportunity where Web3 native folks get together. And although like we want to get a mass adoption and get the non-Web3 users excited, for example, through amazing games such as Wolves of Rome, it is super important to nurture the culture of Web3. And there couldn't be a better way than having a decentral metaverse structure behind that. So with that introduction, Yusuf, please give us a small introduction on yourself. What got you excited about Web3 and Metaverse? And share us a few words of MetaGameHub.
Thank you, Amir. First, like super excited for Wolves of Rome. So I was a gamer myself. I spent my entire childhood like on the screens. So when I see a good game now, it's quite a perk, when you grow in this space, try to merge Web3 with gaming and such. It's a big edge to be a gamer yourself, because you can then identify directly whether a game is using or leveraging Web3 or NFTs, either like for ameliorating the experience or offering like an extra, but it shouldn't be like the focus or shouldn't be like the USP that they're using NFTs. And being a gamer yourself helps you a lot spotting this. And I'm super excited for Wolves of Rome. So we're definitely going to have like more touch points about that. About me personally, so I'm Yusuf behind the account. I also got my own account in there. Currently in France, in Perpignan. I'm based in Frankfurt, Germany. I've been in this space, I would say, first as a fan, as an investor, as a small degen around 2018. But I really only started building around 2020, late 2020, to joining like a Frankfurt Digital Finance Conference, which was nothing like Web3 crypto-wise, but one event led to another. And end of 2020, we started then, let's say, gathering at each other with like some very good friends and experts to build an incubator and accelerator for DAOs, the DAC. And MetaGameHub was actually one of the very first projects we launched there. So as I said, like currently like traveling for a conference. Me personally, Yusuf, like I'm a big fan of, as I say, gaming, horse racing, farming. Not yield farming, but real farming. So like family, business-wise, or like in olive oil, orange, pomegranates, all bio, of course, and windsurfing. So I'm a windsurfer also myself. I'm trying, of course, then to converge all of these passions to what we are doing. And as we said, MetaGameHub being the very first projects that we launched with the DAO incubator and accelerator, we've started in the very first place as a collaborative investment vehicle into virtual real estate, where we raised basically to acquire like lands in different metaverses that we would populate and give value to. So our very first low-hanging fruit was actually to develop the algorithms that would help us evaluate fair pricing for each parcel of land in the blue chip metaverse, so Sandbox, Decentraland, Somnium Space. And that's Pivot helped us guess which lands are undervaluated or overvaluated, helped us launch the valuation tools, raise the first round. And from there, we said, okay, it's more interesting to bring value on the land itself. That's how like the Metaverse studio, MetaGameHub came to action, came to place and born. And now we have then this studio that basically creates experiences and builds on the Metaverse, whether on the lands that we are already acquired across like most of the blue chip metaverses, or for land that like our partners would acquire. And then it goes like from events to digital twins, virtual headquarters, virtual NFT galleries. It really depends what the needs are there. And we slowly then transformed each other ourselves into a platform to invest, build, and experience the metaverse, right? So you have the tool to evaluate the lands, to acquire your lands. You have the creative studio to build your experiences, and then the modules like avatar modules to deploy your unshoppable avatars in the metaverse, loyalty programs and modules developed specifically for each client and partner, of course, to incentivize their audiences, whether by joining events or purchasing goods, whether on real or a digital world. And of course, topics like avatar, loyalty, carbon offsetting was quite important. We launched actually in Decentraland last year the very first carbon neutral, carbon free event in the metaverse. It might sound trivial, but if you see the quantity of energy that is needed, whether by the servers or by running these operations, that's quite tremendous. And that's where we are very proud to be partners with Menthal Protocol. So we also launched like the cool pool together, and they're gonna probably talk a lot about it later. And the goal then together is really like to create a carbon-free, carbon-neutral, decarbonized metaverse experiences, whether by offsetting or reducing energy consumption. Very happy to be here. I'll leave the stage to you, otherwise I'll speak for hours, and much looking forward to hear from everyone else.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Yusuf. Thanks a lot. So we're also very excited about like this joint efforts, and would love to elaborate shortly on how Metaverse and how Wolf of Rome and how also Menthol can act together in not creating only like a fun experience with nice retention opportunities for the Web3 world, but how we can also make a joint difference. So Menthal Protocol, for the new listeners joining in, is a one-stop solution for sustainability. We basically allow to attach to any transaction on the blockchain, which we measure, carbon credits which you retire. So the lovely thing about merging with Metaverse and with gaming is that we can basically embed real-world climate action into the gameplay. Besides, like in a fun way, basically doing something good for the world. One particular point I'm super excited about, which I just mentioned, is the Metaverse event, which will be on the 21st of April. So I'd just like to give a small preview over here to our listeners of what you can expect over here and how you can get to know Wolves of Rome better in a gamified way. So besides having lovely partners on board, so we will disclose that during the next weeks on our Twitter and on our socials. We do have exciting opportunities for the community to engage. A good example, I think, which will create of experiencing Metaverse and gaming will be happening on this Metaverse event. One cool feature that's like what I learned as I've been a gamer myself. I've been playing GTA, I've been playing FIFA, so rather like the boring standard games, I would say. But a gamified way of getting to know a game via Metaverse is something I'm excited about. So we've been cooking in the background. We will have amazing wearables which look not as beautiful as the lovely Wolves of Rome NFTs, but you'll have a proper wearable of a wolf. You'll have to compete, do a few different tasks. For example, you'll have to catch a few werewolf arms all over the Metaverse space on Decentraland. So shout out to our partners over there, which you can collect. And one of the lovely wearables will be a green-eyed Wolves of Rome header. So if you're excited to equip your avatar with cool features, you'll definitely won't want to miss that. for today, I know that we've got for three big topics over here: gaming, metaverse, and sustainability. We don't have too much time in those Twitter spaces, which is why I'm very much looking forward to a few more Twitter spaces where we'll delve a little bit more into detail. Also, sharing some news and some updates on the upcoming Metaverse event where we invite all of you to come. I would love Wolves of Rome and Kyle to talk a little bit about the game itself. So what can the users experience during that game, and how can they interact and become part of the Wolves of Rome community? I know you're at the excited stage, so yeah, would love to hear about that.
I gotta say, I'm very bad at speaking a little about anything got to do with Wolves of Rome. The folks who join our weekly Twitter spaces know that I speak a lot about it because I just get super enthusiastic about the game. But
we want our like
That's why we're here for.
Take your time.
That's exactly why.
Exactly. We want to enlighten our friends here.
Bam.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, I'd love to pin some stuff up. I don't know if that's okay. Sometimes visual aid is super useful when talking about a game. But yeah, so Wolves of Rome, from a gameplay perspective, is turn-based card game strategy. It's not the kind of game where you're spamming the click button to collect your coins. It's thinking, it's planning, it's mind games with your opponent. It's a lot deeper than people realize. And so it's got this nice kind of, when you start playing a game like this, you are introduced to dynamics of gameplay like attacking and defending. I play a bunch of units that are like my army, and I attack my opponent and they defend. And it sounds really simple, I've got to get some attackers through. If they're undefended, they deal damage to the opponent. And if I can get the opponent's life total down to 0, I win. Super simple. But as you spend time playing a game like this, you start to understand the intricacies and, spell stack and strategies that you can do. And just having a card in your hand, the power of holding a card, to make an opponent feel like it's almost like a bluff. You almost feel like you've got the spell that can thwart an attack. And so as you play, the game grows on you and takes you to new depths. I think anyone who's joined and started playing our game in the last 2 weeks, who happened to play a game against, some of the listeners, I can see CDCCC is in the crowd, Neek is in the crowd. I mean, there's a lot of people in the crowd, but it's a big space. I just realized while scrolling. But some of the players that I recognize, these guys have been playing the game since we're in closed alpha. And so when you play in your first week against one of these players, you realize, wow, this game, there is really a lot of knowledge to these players. But strategy in our game starts with collecting, right? You first want to collect the cards that you need to create combinations in your deck. So I could play with a Roman deck, which means I would have a Roman commander and a deck of 30 NFT cards that I had collected or bought or opened from packs or earned. But I've curated from my card library of maybe 100 cards. I've put together a deck that I think is going to work really well. It's got soldiers, it's got spells, and it's got combinations where things buff each other and make each other stronger, right? My opponent might play with a different empire. So while I'm playing with Rome, my opponent might play with Egypt. And Egypt has a lot of undead mummies and liches, and they, thrive on death. And so it's a much darker empire. And so, his strategy to win is very different to mine. Mine is very straightforward. I attack and hopefully destroy my opponent with brute force. And his strategy might be sacrificing his units to deal damage to my life force, without even attacking. And so there's a lot of different clever ways to get to the finish line, and how these different empires relate to each other. Every deck could be different. I could surprise you by putting some really wild cards in my deck that you wouldn't expect. And as the game grows and more cards get added to the ecosystem, it adds so many more dynamics and unpredictable factors which make things fun. So that's kind of like the basic layout. You collect your cards, you build decks, and then you go and play against other opponents who have done the same. And in real time, you draw one card every turn. And so when you start a game against an opponent, you just have to start figuring out what is their strategy, because I need to find a way to stop it and also get mine across the line. So there's also real-time adaptation. The skill starts with collecting and building, and it ends off with conquering your opponent. And so in our game right now, being in open alpha, we've got 3 empires available in the game. You can play as neutral, Rome, or Egypt. But down the line, you'll be able to play with vampires, which is our next empire that's coming out. And then you'll have the Yucatec, which are like the lizard men, and the Qin dynasty. So we've got all these other empires coming. They've all got different archetypes, different personalities, different play styles, and different cards to collect and build. And And yeah, so that's kind of the core concept of the game. And obviously, you can tell it's set in a world with a historical fantasy, very similar to what we see as our history. Only the things that we call myth or legend in Wolves of Rome is real, right? So werewolves running Rome, living alongside humans and trying to be stoic and civilized, and vampires, completely wanting to take over the world and treat humans as farm animals, essentially, for blood. It gets pretty hectic. It's not a game for kids. It's a real thinking game. And so that's kind of Wolves of Rome. That's the concept. I mean, I could spend ages talking about the lore. Very, very passionate about the lore and the art. And that's, I think, what guides everything. But the gameplay itself, very addictive.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Kyle, for sharing. And we invite everybody, if you haven't done so far, to go to the Wolves of Rome account, follow it, be updated. And maybe, Kyle, if we've got a few interested players in here who would love to explore and join your alpha, is there a possibility for them yet to join? If not, when would they be able to join?
So that's the great news. Recently, we announced that we've moved into open alpha. So historically, you would have had to, join our Discord and go through an onboarding and all of that jazz because we were in such an early phase. But recently, we've made the alpha completely available from our website. It's, the beta will be on mobile, and so that'll be completely accessible. Right now, the alpha is available on Mac, PC, and Linux, and so you can download it, update it, and play already. And so yeah, it's very much in its PvP phase. There's no quest mode or single player right now. So you'll be playing against other opponents, and so that's where Discord is kind of handy. If you want to find opponents easily, we have a Discord set up for matchmaking. But as we go, obviously this will get simpler and simpler, and AI opponents are on the cards soon as well. So you'll be able to test your deck against the PC before you thrash opponents with it. And I'll pop a link up so that you guys can follow it. But yeah, in open alpha right now, so nothing to do other than popping over to wolvesofrome.io, downloading the game, and getting started.
Amazing, thanks a lot. And I know that you also released your staking feature, so Wolves of Rome is cooking, and I think it's amazing to see not only Web3 projects coming in and releasing a landing page, and basically for a few years you don't hear anything about the game. I think it's amazing that you've taken this approach of like building a true game while going out with a brand. So I think this is like an amazing thing. And looking at the market, looking at one of the recent successes in Web3 in respect of adoption and transaction generating, I think Unchained Gods can be named over here. And the similarities in the approach, many ways, which also like being a trading NFT powered game is something which you should mention. So if we think a step further and imagine those empires which you're explaining, I'm excited to see in future also in the Metaverse, where you basically can experience those lands in a more in-depth way and in a more gamified way on top of the trading game. So this is something I'm personally also excited about. I think also the option of creating avatars out of those gaming figures is something which is exciting. So with the wearable, which will be making available to those people managing the quests of the Metaverse event, I think this will be like a first step into this direction. But I'm super excited to see the journey of Wolves of Rome and see also how it will continue to evolve. So circling back to MetaGameHub, to Yusuf. Yusuf, how do you see gaming and Metaverse relate to each other? Have you seen other gaming projects which are utilizing the Metaverse in a specific way? Would love to hear your thought on gaming and Metaverse.
100%. 100% on different angles. First, I will come back also, maybe you can answer me later. I had like some interesting questions from a gaming side, like what's your favorite cars, what's your favorite empire, but we'll come to that later. But for me, is that gaming is the metaverse. There's two things have been correlated with each other since more than 20 years. So myself, honestly, as a gamer, the thing I played the most growing up was World of Warcraft. And actually, I thought about it now when my Wolves of Rome was explaining. So like this race of wolves, it's a bit like a Worgens in World of Warcraft that civilize themselves, so to speak. So gaming is the metaverse, and my first metaverse that I experienced it, even though of course it was closed centralized metaverse, was World of Warcraft, a giant, massively multiplayer map where people can interact with each other, play with each other, against each other, exchange material, skins, wearables, money with the in-game assets. So gaming is the metaverse actually, and how now we can leverage the possibilities, for example, of like existing game, can even be card game, of course, have their places in the metaverse. How? Let's say the game hasn't launched yet, but we want to give a little preview, for example, of how the characters would look like, or how like the storyline of the game would look like. So think of a gamified mini experience or questing experience, for example, on Sandbox, where people actually can join the metaverse, link it with an avatar that is actually their ID also connected to the games themselves. So I see the metaverse in these cases as a prolongation, for example, of your interaction with the game or with the community in immersive environments. And when we say metaverse, it doesn't have to be like playing actually in the metaverse, right? That would be possible, for example, in Sandbox by creating like questing experiences where you have to fight against each other or like resolve quests. Through that, you can learn like the storyline of the game. Through that, you can discover the different characters or like meet other people. But metaverse in this side can also be a very strong leverage from the community side, from the social side, where it offers a place for the thousands of people, for example, of a game that are scattered and spread around the world to be not physically but digitally together in like a social gathering environment. I give you an example for that from the esports side. Maybe you followed a bit like earlier this year, like Sergio Aguero, big esports fan, has his own esports team, Crew Sports. Fichin also, what we've done, we built their community hubs in the metaverse. So we use for these games or like for these esports teams that play games, the metaverse not for playing, but for social gatherings where they can claim wearables, as you can say, like by resolving minigame. Imagine, for example, there is, let's take a carding game, right? That has like a real loyalty or reputation module, right? The more you level up, for example, the more you're stronger in the game, the more you can unleash or unlock possibilities or unlock new features, for example, in your metaverse experience. So it can be a fuel or a vehicle for incentivizing, as we say, the gamer, like to get to know each other, interact with the game itself. It can help, even in my opinion, create more fidelity with the gamers themselves. So as we say, now we have like open decentralized metaverses that we've seen raising in the past 5-6 years, but metaverse as a world has been there since 20 years or more, right? So we, as young, you too, Amir, I know what of a gamer you are. Both of us grew in the metaverse in some way. So imagine like growing up and finding yourself working not only on like a passion you've been growing up doing, but onboarding and opening its door for like the intersection with pre, which we are also doing. So from one side, it's a dream becoming true, and from another side is a passion that fuels, let's say, innovation. You have to stop me at some point because I can't talk for 24 hours.
No, thanks a lot, Yusuf. No, I think you shared so many important insights. So recapping what you've just said, basically allowing to create digital IDs for those players embedded in the metaverse, displaying their and tracking also their let's say gaming results. On top of that, establishing from a brand perspective loyalty programs and with different enrichments from wearable popes quests, and also connecting via the metaverse, something truly exciting to see. It will be on a public ledger. You'll always have your gaming ID to see what kind of a pro gamer you are. So besides the obvious advantages of actually ownership and being able to own maybe those different assets, those cards which you can resell later. So this is something I think which is super exciting. So this ID and loyalty part embedded in the metaverse, and leveraging or supporting the gaming culture as such is, I think, something very exciting. And where a Menthal Protocol comes in, is digital carbon IDs, where we basically enrichen those IDs, showing the carbon footprint they have created on the one side, and allowing the game as well as the community members to support different environmental projects. It could be through carbon credits, biodiversity credits, water credits, soil credits. We also see a set of different other impact tokens coming out, which are of social nature. So where you have a social project being represented to a token, and having this as an opportunity to enrich your digital ID, showing the projects you support. I think this is like a beautiful mix, and we as Menthal Protocol are super excited of being part of this journey together with you, and building this new digital sphere. And hopefully not only allowing an amazing gaming and metaverse experience, but also attaching some real world action to it. So I think this is something which is important to all of us. And I think if we can create a gamified way, this will boost grassroots support of different individuals and organizations supporting different causes over here. So I'm seeing that we're over the 30 minutes. We're a little bit short over here, unfortunately from my side, because we're hopping to the next event. But before closing the Twitter space, I first of all want everybody who's listening in to also open up the MetaGameHub account, follow it. You'll be seeing amazing things over there. Besides, an infrastructure project for investing, building and experience metaverses, you'll find an amazing set of different projects you can follow working and building their metaverse experience. So having that said, Kyle, I'd love to channel over to you. Please give us some closing words from your side. We are super excited of having this first Twitter space, giving a small hint on the upcoming Metaverse event on the 21st of April. Excited of having you here, and thank you for your time. But the stage is yours before we close up. Thanks a lot, Kyle.
That's dangerous, Amir, to give me the stage when you don't have a hard stop. No,
worries. You'll also want Yusuf to give us some last words, so no worries.
It's a trap.
Yeah, exactly.
Trap.
We could just keep this going. I appreciate this. Has been a fantastic space. Short and sweet, but I expect we'll have a bunch more, because there's so much to talk about. So much to talk about when you're talking about impact, sustainability. There's so much to talk about from an onboarding, the Web 2 world into Web 3 gaming, and the real strategies around implementing something like that. And we could talk for days on that, which we're not going to do now. But I think this is the beginning of something special, and I look forward to the Metaverse events. Those of you who hold our NFTs know that we pack them full of stuff, and some of that stuff is 3D printable, 3D models of the wolf bust themselves, and the lich bust, and all the empires to come, which means you may well be seeing some 3D NFTs in a virtual environment near you. But we look forward to that event, and just very happy to be part of this, and driving some change, and really kind of switching things up from the way things have been done, and shifting focus. So proud to be part of it, and I'll hand over to MetaGameHub.
Nice, thank you. You said something very, very important that everyone should also reline. Those who hold the NFTs, it shows also that these digital certificates can be more than just like a USB trying to sell something as an NFT, but it's a gate. It's a key basically to a gateway, right? To a community. It's a key to your access to this world. And I would add the letter S to metaverse to transform into metaverses, because at the end, when we speak about the open metaverse, it's actually an aggregation of different virtual worlds that offer different possibilities, that have different communities. And at the end, being part of the open metaverse is not being in one or two in them, but achieving interoperability in a way where with this avatar, or with your person, you as a gamer, jump from one to another seamlessly and easily. And then we can say that you are part of the open metaverse. And about the open metaverse, is not going to build itself by its own. So we need all of you to hop on board. to bring in your ideas, your contributions, where you see this going, because that is actually how we in Web3 build things, right? You build your community, you listen to what the needs are, and then you start paving the way to them, so to speak. So much looking forward to meet you in the metaverse first. I think South Africa is a bit far away from me now, and it shows again another perk of these virtual worlds, right? So in one click, we'll be near each other. Of course, nothing will change like a solid handshake, but we will make sure to program like virtual handshakes embedded into the avatars. Again, it's a trap if you give me again the mic when you try to close this afternoon. So you have to mute me at some point. And Amir, by the way, I'm going to be in Paris Blockchain Week very soon. Anyone joining there, hit me up. Invite you like to the events with me. I get to know each other. So hit us up. We are a bit everywhere now between Singapore, Dubai. Amir is still in Dubai, there, Paris. So whenever you are in the world, you're going to have like actually one of these gentlemen near you to guide you or to exchange with you. Thank you very much, Amir, for bringing this team together, this lineup together. You always curated so well. And yeah, much looking forward to the next space already. And it's a good strategy, right? So we don't want to host like 2 or 3 hour spaces where we dump everything, but it's more like, gradually giving some information step by step. It creates also like the suspense.
Thanks a lot, Yusuf. Lovely. And I can just summarize that I'm so happy to be working with MetaGameHub as well as Wolves of Rome. I think there's so much knowledge spill which we can all benefit from. Having behind Wolves of Rome an established gaming experienced partners over there who can teach us about like true game adoption in the non-metaverse world. Like enriched with basically MetaGameHub, who's been doing fantastic work in creating communities, Web3 native communities in the metaverse. And hopefully there's also a slice of what Menthal Protocol can bring in from an impact perspective and how we can build that in. So I'm very excited to see how those diverse settings can grow to something bigger together, and super excited about our next Twitter spaces as well as our Metaverse event, which I want to shill badly. I'm greatly looking forward to that. Having had the chance of experiencing our cool pool party on New Year together with MetaGameHub, that made me so bullish on metaverses. So excited about the next steps, and thanks all to everyone for tuning in. Stay tuned for what is coming up next, and warm regards from Dubai, friends. Thanks a lot. So looking forward to the next rounds.
See you. And as we say, there is no cancel in Web3. As we say in Web3, let's fucking go.
Lovely. Cheers, friends. Kyle, thanks a lot. Yusuf, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
See you, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.